Politicians care a lot about public opinion, but they don't always follow it. They're keenly interested in what the public is thinking, what the public wants from them, but it's not like they just give the public what it wants. They always just give in and put their finger in the wind and try to figure out what the public wants and then hand it to them. The politicians are typically as much interested, if not more interested, in shaping popular opinion rather than just responding to it. We can see that especially in a politician as skilled as President Trump. He's keenly aware of what the public thinks about him, but the public hasn't liked him all that much. He is more interested, though, in shaping what the public thinks rather than merely responding to the demands of the public. So, in this brief video, I want to talk about a few of the things that politicians care about, especially when they look at public opinion, in trying to understand what the American public and especially American voters want. And the key things that politicians care about when they're looking at public opinion data, that is what the public expects over time, what the public responds to regarding questions or regarding policy and so forth. Our politicians will care about the direction of public opinion, its distribution, its variation, intensity, and salience. So let's take a brief peek at each of those concepts. The first, regarding direction, is where is majority opinion on a particular issue? This is public opinion information from a Gallup poll. It shows public opinion from 1990 up through late 2017. Various salient events are pictured here, especially mass shootings. And the question is, in general, do you feel that laws covering the sale of firearms should be made more strict, less strict, or kept as they are now? And the line is for those who believe that the gun laws should be more strict. So you can see there's been very strong support, high support for stricter gun laws over much of the last 30 years or so. It's always been a majority, or almost always been a majority, and sometimes substantially above a majority. So the American public seems to favor stricter gun control laws. Why don't politicians give them what they want? Well, politicians also care about the distribution and the variation in public opinion. And here's what I mean about distribution. The public as a whole may think in favor or be in favor of gun control, but there's a sharp divide between Democrats and Republicans. So Democrats, the blue line, have generally been much more sympathetic to gun control. Up to 90% or more of Democrats favor gun control now. But the Republicans have been much less supportive of this concept. So if you're a member of Congress and you are a Republican, you may be less interested in what the public as a whole wants and much more interested in the distribution of it. That is, are my constituents, my supporters for it or against it? In the case of the Republicans, their supporters are not for gun control typically, and so Republican politicians feel little reason to act for stronger gun control. Also notice the variation over time. Politicians are most attentive to public opinion when it's really quite stable. The more it bumps around, goes up and down, the less politicians can know what the public will think in the future. Politicians don't like responding to public opinion if that public opinion is changeable, if the public seems to support something now and opposes it later, and vice versa. Politicians will also care a lot about what's called the salience of the issue. And the salience just is, how important is this topic? So the public as a whole wants gun control, more gun control than we have. But if you ask the public to list what's important to them, dissatisfaction of government was first, and these polling data are from the end of the summer in 2017, so it's a little bit dated, but not much. Race relations and racism, unifying the country, and so forth. Gun control, even though people may have strong opinions about it, and the public may want more gun control, the public as a whole didn't think that the issue was very important. Fewer than 1% thought it was one of the most important issues facing the country. This increased, but it's still really down the list. Politicians are more likely to respond when a large part of the public thinks that the issue is really important and they have strong views on that issue as well. Final thing that I'll mention that politicians care about is the intensity of support. So here we're looking at the question, thinking about how the gun issue might affect your vote for major offices. Would you only vote for a candidate who shares your views? Would you consider the candidate's position on gun control important? Or would you not consider gun control a major issue? So the public is split on this. Most of the public thinks it's not an important issue. However, a certain part of the public will only vote for someone who shares their views. So about a quarter of the population says they will only vote for a candidate who shares their views. Historically, those people, the people who feel very strongly about gun control, typically have been supportive of gun rights. And so a substantial portion of the American public will only vote for a politician who will support gun rights. That is why gun rights have typically been expanded, not contracted. That is why it's been difficult to enact gun legislation in this country. Because even though the public as a whole may support gun control, very few think it's a highly important issue. And an even smaller number thinks they will only vote for a candidate who supports gun control. Public opinion is complex. Politicians care a lot about it, but what they care about varies from issue to issue and is based on the dimensions I suggested to you: the direction, the salience, the intensity, the variation, and the distribution, and so forth.